You know, time is a flat circle. I started out before I even joined YouTube in 2006, 7, something like that, holding a shitty microphone to my lips talking about World of Warcraft. Here I am, 12, 13, 14 years later, holding a shitty microphone to my lips about to talk about World of Warcraft. So, World of Warcraft Classic is coming out soon. I think in the end of summer it's going to be out, and people are going to be all playing it, and they're all talking about it and everything like that. And it's something that I've seen around, especially in my shitty, kind of fragmented group of friends. It's been sort of the talk of the team. Everybody's talking about WoW Classic. We're going to play WoW Classic, blah, blah, blah. And I've been going back and forth about whether or not I even want to play it, whether I want to try it, whether I want to go back to Blizzard, give them money again after all this time. It's not something I enjoy doing. It's not something I've ever enjoyed doing. I don't like giving that company my money. I just don't like doing it. I've done it a couple times for Hearthstone for whatever reason. That's the last time I've done it, and it was never an eventful, fruitful, or fulfilling purchase when I did. But I'm going to try and talk about WoW Classic as much as I can here. I'm going to try and divide this long, almost hour-long thing into 3 parts. In the background, you'll see Elder Scrolls Online footage I just recorded for almost an hour, just trying to get something to have in the background so it's not so bland, because it's just me yammering about WoW. How fucking long can you handle that? I guess it's good to listen to this in the background of, like, playing games. I remember people used to tell me, Slap, I love listening to your videos while I play games on the internet. And I was like, yeah, that's what I do too with other things that aren't me. So I understand where people are coming from with this. But anyway, I'm going to try and divide this into 3 parts. The first part is my actual experience with WoW Classic. Like the retail 12, 15, whatever year ago WoW Classic that I've forgotten most of at this point, which is unfortunate because I was doing a little series about my time in WoW Classic, just my WoW story in general. It was called WoW Story. It was just my experiences playing WoW, and I completely stopped it because I just didn't care. Who cares about what I do? The second part is going to be about Nostalrius, I suppose, like just my experience with private servers in WoW Classic and things of that nature. The third part is going to be about basically Elder Scrolls Online versus World of Warcraft, because everybody knows that I'm kind of an MMO player. Everybody knows this. The Queen of England gave a speech. Slap your face, loves his burning crusade. Remember that? Oh, everybody was talking about that for a bit. But yeah, so I'm just going to talk about why I think I've gone back and forth again in my brain about whether or not Elder Scrolls Online as it is today and as it exists basically since the shitty launch it had, when it got the redoing of everything and everything became more open and whatever, that versus Burning Crusade WoW, which to me was the peak of Warcraft. So I'm going to go a little bit in detail about that, but we have a lot of stuff to cover. And I don't really have a structure for this, as usual. I was thinking about this all day, like maybe I should write some things down, take some notes, maybe get things streamlined a little bit better, but nope, I'm just going off the cuff as I usually do. Usually turns out okay, right? No? Yes? No? No? They don't have any viewers anymore? Who cares? It's been like 10 years since I've even tried one of these, so let's get to it. First things first. We're going to talk about my real experience in retail WoW. So, I don't even remember. I honestly don't even remember how I heard about WoW. I think it was through MapleStory, because I played that before I played WoW. I started with RuneScape in grade 4. I remember like the conversations of like, oh, I got my black dagger. I don't remember what they're called. The black iron. Who cares? It was black dagger. People were talking about their black dagger. I was like, what are you talking about, black dagger? And when I first started playing it, it was that shitty like sprite 2D weird crappy version of RuneScape, which I don't know. It's just seeing pictures of it is super nostalgic to me, and it's like, dang, that's my humble beginnings right there. Played that for a bit, moved on to MapleStory because I don't know, I tried MapleStory, and back then everything was impossible. You couldn't do shit. I made a cleric for some reason. My very first character that I ever tried and put time into was a cleric for whatever reason. I never played with people. I never had friends in that game. I just made life absolutely unbearably miserable for myself by picking a class that couldn't kill anything. So yeah, I wasted a lot of fucking time just pressing the Z button over and over again, doing that dumb claw move, hitting single creatures over and over and over, like 10 times to kill even one. And there was like 50 monsters per screen. So yeah, it took me forever to even get level 40, and that's kind of where I bailed. From there, I'm pretty sure I somehow learned about Warcraft, just like watching YouTube videos at the time. Like even back then, YouTube was just starting. Like I was basically on YouTube from the first like 3 months of its inception. I've always been here. I didn't have an account for a little while. Rather, I did, but I didn't, do anything with it. And then I don't even remember the password for that account. Oh well, it's still there. I saw it the other week, sometime. And from there, I picked up WoW. I saw these videos on it, like guy who yelled. No, that was me who made that guy who yells at his gnome. There were just some videos that was like you can be main tank and healer, and I don't even remember what the fuck it was called, but I remember that video so clearly. But there was like this lot. It's just a paladin trying to get a tank for dead mines or something like that. But he was main tank, healer, and DPS, and I don't know, whatever. Old WoW is so fucking ancient. Who cares? But anyways, from there I learned about WoW, picked it up somehow. I think I convinced my mom to buy it for me because I didn't have any money at the time. I was still in like grade 6 or some shit, 7, 8, around there, and yeah, played WoW. I remember the summer that I very first got it. It was like very hot, and it was so hot that I had like a fan that right by the computer desk, and I basically just took over the main PC. Like we had a family PC up until that point where everybody used it, but I was on WoW so fucking much, and nobody else really cared about PC at that point. Like, it was mostly just, I'm just going to watch TV all day. No one had any interest in recreation on the PC at that point. Maybe my sister. I think we got a separate PC for my sister, like, about a year after. It was determined that I was never giving that shit up. So, yeah, I spent all summer at that desk and just playing and stuff. And I remember I remember sitting at the Griffin in Stormwind at one of the edges right above the moat or whatever. I remember sitting there looking up at the sky, like, the night before I had to go back to school after summer was over. And I was like, you can do this, man. I was like psyching myself up in the video game World of Warcraft. I was like, you got this, man. Just go back to school. You can do it. Of course, that was the year I fucking dropped out because I was like, nope. I'm done with this shit. Anyways, that's not important. World of Warcraft Vanilla. Let's talk about... I remember a very specific couple of things that I don't think I'll ever get this feeling back. The very first time I found that little nook in Dunmoreau where that Yeti was, that little crevice in between the mountains, and that elite Yeti that I ran from, that feeling was so different from anything I'd ever experienced in any game before. Because I was like, this is an open world. I don't have to attack that creature. There's nothing telling me to attack that creature. There's no quest for it. There's no objective to kill it. It's just there. And I can attack it if I want to, but I can't beat it because it's elite and I'm level 10. So I ran. And the first time seeing the little dragon portrait around the UI and the portrait of the monster, that was like, oh, this is serious. That thing is intense. I don't really remember a ton about what I did after that. I remember queuing up for Warsong Gulch, and when it was over, I was outside the actual portal instance of Warsong Gulch in I don't remember that zone. I don't remember the name of the zone, but that Night Elf place. There was an actual portal that you had to go to for Warsong Gulch back in the day, and whenever you queued for it, I believe this was when you queued for it in a city. I queued for it, and I was like hooked. The second I got into Warsong Gulch, I was like, this shit is so fun. Fighting other players and their equipment and all that stuff. And it was like, I think even back then there was no such thing as twinks. Maybe there was. I just don't remember that vividly. But I was like level 10 and everybody was like, just beating the shit out of me, like mega hard. I went to, that place in Lochmadan, that little outpost, and they sold armor there, and I got all this white chainmail armor, and I thought I was so fucking strong. I was like, yeah, this is like Diablo. I'm going to be so strong. I made a paladin because I was like, I remember playing Diablo 2, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to make a paladin, I'm going to have hammers, and they're all going to swirl around me, and I'm going to attack 1,000,000 miles a second with zeal. Of course, paladins didn't have anything cool at that point, and they basically never did. So I was gypped there. But yeah, I rolled my entire life in Vanilla WoW as a paladin, so this is coming from that perspective. By the way, I just noticed that the microphone volumes are kind of nuts right now, and it's too late for me to go back and fix it, so you're just going to have to deal with me screaming and hearing the mic distortion of me having it at 100% volume. I might just like hold it a little bit further away from me. Who cares? I can adjust the volume in post. This is a very spur-of-the-moment decision, by the way. You can tell I'm not prepared at all for any of this. This is why I don't make videos anymore. So after I started playing Warsong Gulch a little bit, I remember like making this big, long list. I might have mentioned this in my last WoW story, because I did cover all this at one point, when it was still fresher in my memory, but I still have things that I will never forget. I remember making this list of like, because we were just getting owned. We were getting wrecked in Warsong Gulch over and over and over again. Alliance blew in Battlegrounds. They still do, honestly, to this day. I don't know what my voice did there. They're just bad. They're just bad at Alliance sucks at Battlegrounds. Maybe it's different now because everything's a little bit more normalized. But man, all the little kids playing Alliance because they saw elves and were like, I want to be Legolas. Yeah, whatever. There was no question in my mind that I wanted to be a dwarf, though. Zero question. I don't even remember why I felt that way. I was just like, oh, there's a game where I can finally make a dwarf character? Well, I guess I'm just doing that, aren't I? And I picked Paladin because I thought, hammers, zeal, whatever. Didn't work out. Anyways, after that, that's where I met Ginny. And Ginny was like probably my closest vanilla WoW friend. I've gone over Ginny a million times. Ginny completely forgot about me. I forgot about him. Fuck him. Whatever. He made zero effort to continue to be friends after I stopped playing WoW, which is a running theme among basically everybody I've ever talked to in that game. If you don't play the same game as me, well, I guess we can't hang out. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You don't pay $15 to Blizzard Entertainment. I can't talk to you. I'm sorry. Anyways, then Ginny introduced me to Deadmines. And this is where if I wasn't hooked on WoW before, this is what hooked me on WoW. The experience of being, like, it's hard for me to describe the experience myself nowadays because it's just such a unique thing that I'm sure everybody experienced when they play MMOs for the first time. But it's hard to describe it, and you can never get that feeling again. It's like lightning in a bottle. You can't catch it. So when I was like a little novice, I barely had any green items. I thought green items were like the shit. I was like, yeah, I need that green item. All my items are all white, and I purchased them with silver. Blew all my early silver on just like rusted chainmail and stuff. Didn't work out for me. Basically, I'm probably the reason why Alliance lost every Warsong Gulch like 20 games straight. But that's neither here nor there. I remember getting so pissed off that we couldn't win a Warsong Gulch game. Nowadays I get a little less pissed about... No, I'm still kind of pissed when my teammates don't know how to fucking capture the flag or anything. But whatever, who cares? Everybody just wants to fight in the middle of the zone. Just go after the flag. They'll come to you. Trust me, you will be able to fight people. You just will be able to win in the process when you have a flag attached to your honking nose. Anyways, I digress. Deadmines. That feeling of being so lame and shitty and then entering a world where everything can kill you in a second and you need teammates to help you. I don't even remember what my role was in Deadmines. I think I was like healer or some shit. I don't even remember. Bad healer at that. I didn't even have Flash of Light yet. But yeah, I got hooked on Deadmines. I was like, I need to have more of this. I need to do this dungeon 1,000 times because I'm able to. Because it was pretty easy to find a dungeon group for Deadmines back then. Everybody was level 18, so everybody wanted to do Deadmines. And you always have these little 14s like, can I do Deadmines too? And I'd be, no, unless you're a priest, maybe. But no one wants to have a level 14 pulling the fucking whole instance when they don't know anything about the game. Anyways, whatever, who cares? From there, I went on to play Arathi Basin a little bit. I didn't like it as much as Capture the Flag. I thought it was bullshit that I didn't think that the fact that the map was so big, and I didn't have a mount yet. I didn't even know what a mount really was at that point yet. I thought you could eventually get a griffin to fly around with, which I was super wrong about. But then I ended up being eventually right about because Burning Crusade and then Cataclysm and all that. Flying mounts. I'm super disoriented right now. It's so hot in my room. I should not be doing this right now, but I don't have another chance to do this for another week, so I'm just getting it all out. Whatever. Excuses. Honestly, level 20 to 30 is a complete mystery. I think I did Black Fathom Deeps a couple times. Maybe I don't remember, what is that instance called with the Arugal or whatever his name is, the wolf people. I think I did that one a couple times too. But honestly, it was just a random hodgepodge of running around doing instances, and that's about it. Oh man, level 30 to 40? I don't even remember. Basically, I just grinded. I was in an awful point where I was just sitting around, left-clicking spiders all day, just leveling up that way. I didn't know really about quests. I didn't know what to do with quests. I knew a couple of kill quests. Those were the easiest and the best ones for me to do because that's all I did anyway. It was just kill monsters. So, yeah, that's basically all I did. Is I just ran around and I killed monsters, and that was that. Eventually, I made it to the point where I could do other instances like Scarlet Monastery. Got that going for me. And then I could do stuff I could do basically, what was that one? Razor Fen Downs. That one was the one that I ran a lot too. I was basically hooked on instances. Basically, Dead Mines got me hooked on instances. I wanted to level up. I wanted to do all the instances I could. I wanted to just experience what I could in WoW by myself without having people around. Jenny at this point was kind of sporadic off and on. He would play and he would not talk to me half the time anyway. Hammerman I met. This is when I joined my first guild around here. I was called Rush or something. Joined Rush. We all left Rush and then we made... No, we left something and then we all made Rush. That's right. I don't even remember. I couldn't tell you anymore. I have it all cataloged in some neat fancy little logs somewhere, but I didn't have that prepared, so... And my memories are scattered about this point in my life because it was so long ago and it was just so insignificant. So I'm sure this portion of my life will also be forgotten in 10 years as well. So it's all just a series of me waiting for Alzheimer's for me to forget everything. Anyways, I remember Burning Crusade was announced right before I hit 60. And I was still running around just I didn't even know about talent points until I was in my mid-50s or my late 40s, something like that. And then I learned about talent points. I was like, whoa, I forgot about this. I did the first 2 talents, and then I just completely forgot. I got so wrapped up in getting levels, doing quests, or exploring the world. I just totally forgot about that shit. I didn't forget about, what is that called? Abilities. But then that begs the question, how in the hell did I forget about talents and I look at the abilities, I can see things like Holy Shock, Consecration. How did I forget... Well, I mean, I think I got Consecration, and that's right where I stopped. I was like, okay, I'm done. I got Consecration. All right, talent points over. That's all I need. Yeah, but auto-attacking things with Consecration and Seal of Righteousness my entire way up till 60, basically. And doing instances as well. I think I was... at that point, I barely knew about the triad of heal, tank, DPS. I didn't really know about that. So I couldn't tell you what my role was in any instance I ran up until 60. I think probably healer, but I have no idea. Maybe tank. I don't remember. I think it was tank, actually. I remember I used the shield a lot of the time, and I think tapping back into my 15-year-old's brain, I think I would see the word plate and just immediately associate that with tank. So I think I did a lot of tanking. But I think I was pretty bad at it. Whatever. So, that was basically my experience in Vanilla WoW. Because Burning Crusade came out just as I hit 60. I didn't even have a chance to join a raiding guild. I didn't even want to join a raiding guild. I was more interested in Alterac Valley at that point than anything. And I was starting to level up alts at that point too. So, basically, that was my Vanilla WoW experience. Not a lot of excitement, but definitely an experience that I won't forget. Because it was all so new and so interesting to me. If it wasn't for all of the positive experiences that I had in Vanilla WoW and all the wonderment and seeing that giant dragon in that place in Duskwood for the first time, actually making me jump because I didn't expect it to move. thought it was a statue or something, and it moved, and I freaked out. I never saw something that big in my life move, and I actually jumped in my seat when I saw that. But just like all these little experiences that I remember, like going to Crossroads every day and attacking people there and all that stuff. It was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. And it fed my love for MMOs a lot because everything felt so impossible, but there were other people around to make it a little less impossible. And there was always things to do. Always something to do. And, that's sort of why I like MMOs, because there's a couple of like set paths you can take, like especially nowadays it's all PvP versus PvE. What do you like doing there? I'm more of a PvP person. I always have been. I basically always will be. I think if I got to like Dead Mines before Warsun Gulch, I might have actually swapped that, and my whole trajectory of life might have changed, because doing PvE makes you a little more sociable, and if you're a little more sociable, then you might not be a fucking curmudgeony old fat guy in Canada like me. And, you know, maybe I would have met some friends. Maybe I would have met some people who would have, you know, hung out with me a little more. Some shit like that. But my trajectory remained playing MMOs by myself. And that usually leans in the side of PvP. So I've always been like that. And, yeah, there's always a lot of PvP things to do. And even to this day, I still find the concept of capture the flag just fun. I still think that's incredibly fun to have like a little team of people on your side versus a little team of people on their side trying to kill each other, navigate around each other to get a flag to your side. I think that's just fun. Especially since you know, have builds and all these abilities and all these different classes and races and shit like that. It all blends together to be unique every single time. That being said, time flew by. Things happened. MMOs came and went. You know, magic, Runes of Magic came and went. Tree of Savior came and went. All these games that I played, I couldn't even name them. I played so many different MMOs trying to find anything that recaptured that same feeling that I got playing Vanilla WoW for the first time. And nothing ever came close besides just Burning Crusade when that happened, and then that passed me by and the Wrath of the Lich King came out. I could feel the love for the game just drying up. And I couldn't do Wrath of the Lich King. I just couldn't. I haven't really played seriously since then. I'm not interested in anything past that. Even Wrath of the Lich King itself, I didn't really care much for. I liked the Zone. I liked Northrend. I think that was kind of cool. But other than that, don't care. I just didn't find any joy in that particular thing. It was mostly because at that point, that's when, like, you know, what is that called? Second-hand default relics and shit like that, and just like, oh, you're joining up to do PvP? Okay, you did one game? Here's an epic for you. Epics used to be nearly impossible to find and get and keep and, you know, anything like that, but they were just handing them out like candy, starting Wrath of the Lich King. And it didn't feel like there was much to work for at that point. Like, every single item you got in default World of Warcraft, especially me, a person who barely did anything besides PvP, every item that I somehow managed to finagle my way into getting felt like, okay, that's it. I'm never getting anything better than this. This is it. This is my thing now. I have like 10 slots to fill. I finally filled one with something that's good. Took me like 10 months to even get that, and I'm never going to get another one because I don't like the process of dealing with raid groups. And I don't like the process of, you know, finding a guild and DKP and all that nonsense, loot priority and shit. It's just, if I'm going to run something that's like, I have this issue with ESO too, if I'm going to run something that is difficult, that's going to challenge me, and then I have to interact with people and make sure that they understand the difficulty and the challenges as well, I just want my fucking sword and I want to get out. I don't want to talk to you ever again. I don't want to run this shit ever again. I'll learn this stupid instance. I'll talk to a stupid group, but that's it. One and done. I'm out. But in ESO, it's a little different, and World of Warcraft, it's very different. So, that being said, time passed, nothing happened, game sucked. I learned about private servers for World of Warcraft, and in particular Nostalrius. I heard that was booming and spiking in popularity, and I was like, I'm kind of over WoW in general, but it would be kind of nice just to find out what vanilla was actually like, because I heard that this was a one-for-one perfect almost recreation, minus some like pet bugs and a couple of queue issues and content not quite released yet. But it was a one-for-one recreation of just World of Warcraft Classic vanilla. And I was like, well, maybe rose-colored glasses maybe made the old shit seem bad and compared to the new shit, or no, the new shit seemed bad compared to the old shit. So maybe I'll just play it, try it out, see what it's like, hop on, and level a character, maybe like do some dead mines or something. And I made Undead Mage, and I saw the Sepulture, and I was like, man, I'm hooked. I remember this, man. This is so nice. The movement felt perfect, even though it was it was hosted in Russia or something like that. I still had like 160 ping, which was a little bit noticeable, but I very quickly adjusted. It wasn't that bad after 2 or 3 days. Completely fine. But man, Nostalrius, what a server. That was so fucking fun. To be able to go back to something that I just sort of, in my adolescence, just sort of breezed by in a way that I didn't have any experience, in a way that I didn't have, I didn't play much MMOs before this. I didn't know anything about WoW until this. And obviously, looking back on Classic after, Burning Crusade came out, I would always look back at Classic and be like, where did they change? What was so important about Classic that everybody's bitching about that was so different and so important to keep and stuff? So I'd always learn little tidbits about Classic here and there over the years. And then being able to put that all together and in a fully functioning adult brain that can process these things properly, man, I felt like king of the world in that shit, man. I really did. And honestly, it did help that it was just kept to a single server and there was a humongous population on that server. Man, trying to get a single quest mob in that maze of humanity was absolutely impossible. But for whatever reason, I really enjoyed the grind. I loved the challenge of beating other players to the punch when it came to tagging a monster. Or sometimes they would be like, hey, want a group for this thing? And I'd be like, sure. And then sometimes I would say no, because this fucker would take something from me, or he would take a quest spawn where he had to actually find the item, find the shiny part of the item, and then click it and get it and stuff. And I'd be like, no, you're not grouping with me after you stole that shit from me. There was 2 quests in the same area. One is to kill monsters, one is to grab items. I'm killing monsters because that's just what I do. I tag things really fast. I'm spinning around, holding tab and 4 at the same time. Blah, 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 blah. The second something spawns, I'm fire blasting it. And then it's like, oh, well, you stole that item from me in between the monster spawns, so no, you don't get to group with me. These are my monsters. You get to have those items. Good for you. You got a lucky spawn on that one. The next one that spawns, you might not be so lucky. And I'm getting all the monsters, so fuck off. This is my spot. Man, it was cutthroat, but it was fun. It was fun. It was a lot of just competitiveness within just the structure of the game. You're always competing to try and make your single character as strong as you can, whether it be through just leveling up, whether it be through getting the best gear, whether it be through finding the best group for a PvP or something like that. You're always just competing. It's just a lot of fun because I've always been a competitive person, but I've never done anything with that never done any competition with that drive that I have. And PvP was the perfect funnel for that, because it was it wasn't perfect because I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing the same shit in my house in my underwear all day. But it was as good of a outlet as I could have asked for, but without actually accomplishing anything. I wish I, maybe got into a sport or something like that, but who cares? I made a ton. I spent a long time on Nostalrius, and even when it got shut down and all the information was ported to a different host, I spent a lot of time on that, man. I'm telling you, I spent so much time on that. I would wake up. There was a point in my life, for weeks at a time, maybe 4 weeks straight, maybe a full month of my life was devoted to this. I would literally do nothing but wake up, roll out of bed, log into WoW, start Alterac Valley, and then suddenly the sun was down, and then I would go to sleep. Repeat. Literally nothing but Alterac Valley all day, every day, as much as I could for a full month. You know where that got me? Lieutenant Commander. Not even close. Not even close to Field Marshal. At this point, I made a couple characters in Alliance and Horde. I had like 3 Alliance 60s and I had 1 Horde 60. And leveling in vanilla was no pick and nick. It was difficult. And I somehow did it 4 times. And I probably won't ever do that again because, I mean, I might do it again. Here's the thing. This whole thing is just me talking to myself, trying to convince myself of my own opinion on Classic WoW being released by Blizzard. I have been leaning on the side of I'm probably not going to play it, especially on release. That being said, I am not opposed to playing it. I'm just not excited about it. I'm excited about vanilla WoW being given a platform to show how fucking awesome just MMOs can be. How competitive and cutthroat and the time investment you need for this. I'm super excited for that because that's what MMOs are. MMOs are a time investment. It's about making yourself feel like you are king of this virtual world, which you are able to do. You are physically capable of like being the strongest, the best, the most respected, the top damage, the best tank, the best geared, the best at PvP. You're capable of doing this. And even if you aren't, you're capable of fighting or grouping with or trading with the people who are. So you're just rubbing shoulders with like royalty in this virtual world. It's such an interesting concept that I just fell in love with the instant that I logged in for the first time. And I believe the term is rubbing elbows, not rubbing shoulders. That makes it sound a little bit, a little hot. We don't want one of those here. That's for the Night Elves. After I got Field Marshal, I kind of saw that the server was starting to die. It was no longer the bustling city. When the Alterac Valley queues took like 10 minutes and it would only fill like with 20 people on each side, that's when I saw the writing on the wall and I was like, okay, I see how it is. It was fun while it lasted. I had a blast. People have moved on to a different server. I don't know why, but I get it. And that's where I called it a day. Even after the Nostalrius shutdown, I kept playing on the new host, and I kept playing until I saw that there was no saving it. And I logged into the Nostalrius keepsake name nowadays, and there's like 300 people online, both Horde and Alliance. So, it's dead. But I had a lot of fun. I got pretty high up. The only thing I was missing was like a good sword weapon, a good, because I played Rogue at that point. That was like my main PvP character because why not, right? Rogues, classic. It just goes together like bread and butter. Butter boys coming to town. Slop's annual Butter Me Up Day. So, yeah, that was my little experience with Nostalrius and just classic WoW in general. Man, it absorbed my life for a little bit there. It really did. And again, that's another thing that I will never forget. I spent so long and tried so hard to get as much honor as I could for fucking weeks at a time. If I did that for another, 3 months, I probably would have made Field Marshal, Grand Marshal, whatever. The top thing. Grand Warlord, High Warlord, whatever. I don't remember the names of them, but the top thing with the big swords. If I did that and I finally got myself like a good weapon, then that character would have been complete. But I basically... Getting gear in PvP in that game is basically impossible. Classic. You have to have no life. You need to have a rotation of like 3 people, all on like another level of just PvP tactics, getting things done, making sure you win every battleground, doing the proper rushes, running past the proper things, having the proper number of people in the proper spots. You need to have that on lock. You need to have a system down. And I didn't have that. I just sort of freeballed it the whole time. And I got pretty high, but I didn't get high enough to complete the character. So that being said, all of this being said, I've come to the conclusion that I'm not excited about Classic WoW at the moment. I wouldn't even be excited about Burning Crusade at the moment. I think I'm just done with WoW for a bit. Especially, and here's where it comes in, now that I'm so engrossed in the world of Elder Scrolls Online. And I'll tell you a little bit about why. Because this might seem, for my WoW diehard fans out there, who I know there's at least a couple, and by that I mean I know there's at least a couple fans out there still who will get this video. I know there's a couple of people out there who are just like, no, WoW, ride or die. That's it. That's all I care about. That's all I want. There's always these people. Maybe the culture's moved on from then, but I remember when I used to actually make videos, nobody gave a shit about my Oblivion Let's Play. Nobody gave a shit about my talking things. Nobody gave a shit about my rambling vlogs. Nobody gave a shit about my life updates. Nobody gave a shit about me. They only cared about voices who sounded like they had some authority in them talking about World of Warcraft in a way that entertained them. That's all people cared about. And apparently, for some people, I tapped into that. Now, do I want to be like anything like that? No. I remember watching Total Biscuit like cream himself over every little Cataclysm update for like forever. Just every time, for whatever reason, it was always on my recommended feed. Just Total Biscuit. I was subscribed to him. The new look down, the new dungeons revealed. Don't care. I think he even gave up after Mists of Pandaria. That's the last actual WoW expansion that I played, by the way. I, for some reason, got Mists of Pandaria, and I played it. It sucked. It was boring. I don't remember a fucking thing about it besides questing in that jungle place, the Jade Jungle or whatever. It sucked. It was worst, awful. And that big wall where you had to go for the PvP thing, it's just a mess. WoW is such a joke nowadays. But that brings me to Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online gives me, at least at times, which is something that no other MMO has been able to do since Classic, it gives me new experiences. It gives me that same weird feeling that you get when you go into the Dead Mines for the first time. It's just a completely different take on the same feeling that they go for, and it works. I'll give you a couple examples, but first I want to at least tell you that I've been playing Elder Scrolls Online off and on because, I mean, no MMO keeps my attention fully forever. There's always times where I need to like take a couple months or like even half a year where I just don't play it for a bit. But every time I go back to it because it's the best MMO on the market right now, and I fucking promise you that. I don't care about. I've tried Final Fantasy 14 or whatever. 14. Yeah, I've tried Final Fantasy 14. It's garbage. It's the worst. The only thing people care about there are the naked cat people, which is, I guess, that's appealing to some people. Not for me. Don't care. The quest zones and shit like that is all the same shit. It's all the same shit. It's just read some text. Here's a cutscene. Read some text. Bring me 5 plants. All right. You know, here's your 17 rewards that you'll never use. All about, and here's your box that has your progression level perks in it. Here's your 17 potions and your 13 wood crafting certificate skills. Make sure you fucking never use these. So useless. At least in Elder Scrolls Online, they don't clutter your inventory with useless fucking Chinese gold farming certificates that you don't ever use. Like every single MMO does, besides Elder Scrolls Online. Even World of Warcraft became guilty of this shit in the later part, I remember. I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember that I just having all these like these certificates and all these like just things just cluttering my inventory that I just did not care about. Fuck, that might be like the big. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. Like one of the first things I'm talking about Elder Scrolls Online. I think this is a bigger thing than I even realized, because this is the first thing I'm bringing up. Is this like such a big issue that I have to bring this up first? I guess so. Fuck Korean MMO certificate gold spamming token inventory crammers. Sick of it. Now, onto the examples of why Elder Scrolls gives me such a nice, pleasant feeling in my gourd. I don't remember much about starting Elder Scrolls Online. I really don't. I remember I made a Khajiit, and then I made a Redguard, and then I made a Nord. And I had all three at once, and I was like, which one of these do I want to play? I played the Khajiit for a bit, and then I immediately deleted the character. And then I played the Redguard, and the Redguard became my main, and he still is my main to this day. Technically, I don't play him as much currently, but he has like the highest like crafting skill, which takes fucking forever to get because it's based on days, real life days spent researching and all this nonsense. But And then the Nord I also deleted. So I had my Red Guard. My Red Guard is what I did the majority of my playing with until lately when Necromancer came out. But I do remember playing with a bunch of my friends. We all got it at the same time. We're like, let's try this MMO. It'll be whatever. Who cares? I hear it's good now. The launch sucked, but I hear it's good now. So we all played. And we all played. It was kind of a joke at one point because I didn't realize that every single line in that game that a human being said was voiced. Every single line. That's why the game is so gigantic, because there's so many just audio files that need to be sorted and put to everything directly. But honestly, that kind of is the most unique part of the game that got me initially my eyebrows raised. Whoa. So you're saying every single line is voiced by a human being and it makes the world actually come alive? You're not just wandering through a silent world of people, of NPCs spinning around with crates on their head. You're actually talking to people and they get to tell you their opinions, and there's civilians who you can kill and murder and assassinate and shit. What? I mean, I guess that you can do that in World of Warcraft too, but the civilians that you kill in WoW, they don't, you can't press E on them and they'll be like, "Did you hear of the High Elves?" You can't do that in WoW because there's no High Elves in WoW. They don't care. They just silently spin around with crates on their head. So that part immediately got me to think about this game in a completely different way. Oh, so I might actually care about the story of this game if I hear somebody audibly telling me about the story in this game. A big fucking gigantic audiobook. That's mostly what I think of the quest in this game as. It's just a gigantic audiobook that you participate in. It's really interesting. And it does, I will fully admit, full disclosure, I do sometimes just sit there and let the full voice lines play out so that I can hear every single decibel of what that human being who spoke that line said. Because I appreciate that shit for whatever reason on such a high level that I just let it play sometimes. Now, it does kind of help that I did play Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Skyrim before this. Didn't help that much, especially Skyrim. Skyrim's kind of hot trash, but Oblivion definitely kept me in the know about just the world that is taking place beneath my foot, beneath my little paw pads, as you can see on the screen. So there's an ongoing just story and breathing world and mythology around this world that I don't know why. I'm usually not one to get hooked into these things, but it does heavily interest me. And whenever there's a Daedric prince who's appearing physically before you, it feels like it's important, because it is. Because in the scope of the world, that basically never happens. You had to wait until the very end, the very last scene of Oblivion, in order to actually physically see Mehrunes Dagon in the flesh. You hear him talked about all game, all the time, non-stop, Mehrunes Dagon, Mehrunes Dagon. I thought he was some attractive guy at one point. And then he shows up, and he's this hideous ogre with 7 arms. It's oh, and he's gigantic. Wow. So for the most part, I'm engrossed in the story to a point where it's actually surprising to me that I am. And it actually became kind of a joke with the friends who I actually played this with, and they all gave up, obviously. But it was no, we can't be in the same call while we play. I have to listen to the story. I have to listen. There's a story going on. Get out of the call. Stop talking. That was kind of a joke. It was just an annoying little thing that we all kind of poked at. But to be completely honest, I would rather listen to a fucking audiobook than half of my friends half of the time. So get out of the call. You know what I'm saying? Either way, story is good. World is good. World feels alive. It's incredible. It's the only MMO I've ever played where the world actually feels like it's a fucking other world. It doesn't feel like it's an image of another world that you move your avatar around in. It actually just feels straight up like another world that you participate in, which is super interesting and cool and fun and great. Except for the dungeon quest. I don't give a fuck about those. I just spam E. Get through that. So, that was one part. That was one instance of me just, experiencing something new for the first time. That was wow, this is actually giving me a nice little jolt of energy in the MMO scene that I needed. Another jolt that I needed was something that Darkfall actually ended up giving me at one point, but it wasn't consistent. It gave me this feeling in Darkfall, but it was never a consistent feeling. I can get this feeling whenever I want in Elder Scrolls Online, and that's in Cyrodiil, which is the World PvP zone. The biggest zone in the game is dedicated to PvP. That shit is fun. It's dedicated. It has sieges nonstop. If you're into sieging shit, like you were in Darkfall, you could do sieges on like cities and stuff. You don't need a siege stone. You don't need wall of force. You don't need that shit. You just need a trebuchet and a wall to shoot at, and there you go. You got yourself a siege. Takes forever by yourself, but you can still do it. Man, Cyrodiil is fun. Cyrodiil it's one of those places that I wish I could run it better, because it's hard for me to get into something that's being played at a constant 20 FPS. It's still playable, and it's still fun, and it still feels like you're doing something, but it just takes away from it that amount that where I don't exactly feel like I want to do it over other things. Like I could do Battlegrounds to get sort of the same feeling with just far less lag, As a matter of fact, the footage that you're seeing right now was me in the Imperial City, which is a DLC place. That's probably one of the biggest knocks against Elder Scrolls Online, is the necessity for DLC. If you want really to have like the full experience of the game, there's like 17 parts of DLC that all cost like 7 times as much as the actual game. But I digress from that. That's something to complain about later if I do. Or maybe in a different video if I decide to. But the Imperial City sewers right now is basically, I guess it's sort of like a PvE/PvP mixed thing where the goals of the actual zone itself are PvE, but you just kill each other a lot in order to accomplish it. And earlier on in this, you probably saw me fight a couple of people with blue flags over their head. They were enemy humans, and I killed them. And this is honestly my first time ever venturing down there into the sewers and actually just trying to explore the full thing, get every little nook and cranny, every little icon that appears on the map. I wanted to explore and make sure that I had that all done, kill every boss, do all that stuff. Because this is a DLC that I don't have, and I'm currently under the subscription. Having a subscription gives you every single DLC ever made, but once your subscription is off, you can't go there anymore. So I just wanted to clear that out before I lost my subscription, which I'm probably going to, because I'm not paying fucking 2 months straight of that. I'll just do it every once in a while. But yeah, that was actually kind of my first ever real world PvP stuff. As you can see throughout this whole thing, if you go back and watch, I'm pretty timid when it comes to coming across other players, because I just have this experience of getting wrecked for like 2 years straight. Even if I spec full PvP stuff and I get like all these different builds going, and my experience just as a whole has been, man, I get wrecked. I can't do damage to them, and they do a lot of damage to me. I don't get it. Fuck this. I'm not fighting people. Now, I like fighting people as groups. I like being part of a group that fights another group, or like another, ganking one person. But for whatever reason, when it comes to just like dueling somebody who's super spec'd and super experienced in PvP, I've just been having an experience of getting wrecked. So this was actually, on camera, my first real attempt at World PvP where I was actually victorious because of my new build that I have. And let me segue a little bit into the builds of this game. Now, when you look at this game and you see the ability bar only has 5 slots on it, that's what you're limited to. You say, well, what the fuck is that? You only get 5 slots? How many abilities do you have? How many abilities can you use? How many abilities are there? Fuck this. I'm not playing this stupid game and it's 5 abilities. Go fuck yourself. Well, then, that's what I kind of see at face value as well. I saw that as well. But you have a second bar. You have 2 ability bars, 2 weapon bars, so that brings it up to 10 abilities. But then you have an ultimate for each slot, so then you really have 12 abilities per slot. So you have 12 abilities to use per character, right? I mean, that's just active. You can't switch in the middle of combat, but you can still switch here and there and whatever, so depending on your need. Now, 12 abilities is, it's a little on the low side, but I mean, with how the game kind of functions in the global cooldowns, that's basically all you can even get away with, so it works out. But you see that, and you're like, I mean, like, how are the builds in this game? The builds are actually surprisingly deep, to the point where I'm only recently learning how incredibly deep this game goes in terms of like the builds and the classes and just there's so many roles that but there's so many roles that you are able to fill in this game. Like, for example, something that I've never even attempted yet is a just straight up PvP Magicka healer. Never tried it. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I've never tried it. It's probably very, very good. It's probably why I can't fucking kill anybody whenever I go into a battleground. Because I'm not really spec for pure damage. Even if I am spec for pure damage, I can't fucking touch anybody because they'll have critical resistance or whatever. But anyways, the builds in this game are great because every single skill that you have, there's like class skills, which I think there's like a total of, 6, 12, 18. There's 18 just straight up class skills. There's passive skills, which basically there's no reason to ever just miss out on. But those aren't really super important. The active skills are what I'm talking about here. Man, I only got 10 minutes left. Fuck. I got 6 minutes left. I gotta hurry this up. But yeah, builds in this game are nuts. There's like abilities that your gear sets give you, which is something that basically no other MMO does. Early WoW used to have just straight up like, hey, here's your set. Whenever you have 5 sets of this thing and you use your Seal of Righteousness, you get a fucking boost to your next heal or whatever. Like, that's kind of the same idea, but in this game it's more like whenever you use Seal of Righteousness, you get a bag of many wins or whatever it's called, where it's just like one of 8 different things as a trinket. But it's part of your gear, like it's part of your set. That's why it's really fun. And to get every single piece of your set to be legendary for the absolute max best in slot shit, it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. That's kind of just what this game is. It is a gigantic time sink. There's so much to do. Again, this is why I like MMOs. There's just never a shortage of things to do. In other MMOs, for example Darkfall, for example Tree of Savior, for example Final Fantasy XIV, for example Arcade, for example Runes of Magic, there's always things to do, but it never feels like fun to do, you know? Like, there's a very fine line between things that you can do and things that you can do. You know what I'm saying? I worded that weirdly, but I think you understand what I mean, right? Like, for example, in Darkfall, you can join a gigantic PvP guild and try and raid cities all day, all night, and fucking gang people. But you also can mine. You know? And, I always end up going with things that you can do in MMOs. But for whatever reason, in Elder Scrolls Online, the things that you can do are very, very much intertwined with the things that you can do. So it's a very delicate mix and dance that it does that I have a hard time actually describing to you, but I hope that I described it in a way that makes sense, because that's just how this game functions. There's a lot of things to do, and they all feel like they contribute to your character at large, or even your account at large. For example, just a random fucking thing that you can do that is something that you can do and also can do is, what is that called? I don't even remember what they're called. Motif chapters for just item sets. Like, there's 1,000 different things in the game that can make you look different. Like, it's basically transmogrifying things in World of Warcraft. In order to do that, you just need to collect pieces of paper and read them. And then you have the ability to look like whatever it is that you read. And that's like a whole another side of the game that people just dive right into. Like, yeah, I want every single thing. I want to be able to have every single piece of equipment in this game unlockable so that I can look like that. And you very easily could just focus your entire account on that. You can do that, but also just like you can go questing. And then once you open a chest for questing, you get a piece of a fragment a fragment piece that makes you look like you have a demon on your face or something. It's like every single little thing just feels like it intertwines in a way where the things that you want to do, the things that you should do, the things that you can do, and the things that you do all just sort of mesh together. And then from that, you can pick and choose whatever the fuck it is that you want to actually do and focus on that. But in the process of focusing on that, you pick up bits and pieces of doing other little things that you can focus on as well. It feels like every single thing you do just meshes, and then you can, I've gushed about this fucking game too long. Basically, let's just wrap this up, okay? I got 2 minutes to wrap this up. hopefully in the last fucking take here, because I am overheating in this room. I need the AC on stat, but it hasn't been on because, my God, it's loud, and it's already a lot of background noise, already a lot of loud mic, already a lot of bullshit. Whatever. This video's been a mess, but you know the gist on what I'm going for here, right? I don't. Talking about Warcraft, World of Warcraft. Wow, dwarves, Night Elf, King Varian Rin. I'm pronouncing that wrong incorrectly. I hope somebody got mad at that just listening to it. So yeah, that's my rundown on everything that's been going on with MMOs lately. My takeaway from all of this is World of Warcraft Classic. It's being made by Blizzard. They're going to make changes to it. It's not going to be the classic that I know. It's not going to be the classic that I want. It's not going to be the classic that everybody wants. Everybody found success with in Nostalrius. I'm timid about even looking at news about it because it would make me either want to play it or make me want to shy away from it forever, which I don't want either. I want to eventually play it, but I also don't want to go hardcore into it like I have been with other games, because I just don't feel like I have it in me to go hardcore in WoW ever again. I've done it twice. I've done it in 3 different iterations, actually. 4 different iterations. Classic, Burning Crusade, Nostalrius, and then the host that Nostalrius was on. So, I've done it 4 times already. I'm burnt out. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but it could happen again. Just not likely with Blizzard at the helm. So, thank you all for listening to this. I know it's been a long video, and I hope you were able to follow what I was doing. I barely was. I know it's something I really got to work on, is that I really digress fucking far too much. But thanks for listening, and I might make a video again, but I might not.